All right, good morning, Rabbi Sai. Good morning, welcome. Today's shir is sponsored by Avram Apter, Lurfuas Imi Leo Bas Belo. Sponsor number one. That's the famous Moshe Apter that joins us every single day from Montreal, sponsored by Matisyo Yehuda Steinberg, in honor of my grandfather's yahrzeit, Julius Papa Steinberg. Rabbi Yehuda ben Yitzchak, Olav Hashalom, the Neshama should have an aliyah. L'schos Elisheva Bas Chano Leledo Kalo Biito Ubizmano. Shalom Aleichem, David Dimber, all the way from Highland Park. Wow. Yosef Baruch ben Chava l'Refuah Shleima. Rabbi say it together. Yosef Baruch ben Chava l'Refuah Shleima. This person needs Refuah Shleima. Amen. This is the second time I noticed this name. Meir Planka, sponsored by Meir Planka, Leilu Nishmas, the yahrzeit of my Zaidi Moshe ben Alexander. Thank you, Rav Eli and the whole MDY team. There's a new team. They're in training. Wishing the whole MDY Chabura a wonderful Yontif. It's by Meir Planka. We're not done yet. Okay, this is the last one. Sponsored by, he doesn't want us to print this, and he had an idea. Today, Rabbi Sai, we're changing, we're not turning the daf, but we're changing the Artscroll volume. Vice the Chais is changing from volume 1 to volume 2. So, b'schus, the change of the volume, Chaim and Hindi Snow sponsored today's shir. And also, Chayesora Ba, Lezech Nishma, Cindy's mother, Chayesora Ba, Yaakov Meir. You know who Chaim Snow is. He's a famous guy. He lives in Artscroll, but he does all the video for the Siyum HaShas. He's a famous videographer. Yaakov Meir, Chayesora Ba, Yaakov Meir, the volume of Artscroll Gemara. Okay, here. Rabbi says, I promised yesterday we have 2 daf of Agadah, amazing stuff. Starting today with a brand new perek. Daf Nun Beis, Amud Beis, all the way in the bottom. Keitzad ma'abrin es ha'orim, how should one do a tchum? How do you figure out where a city is? Bayis nichnas, bayis yaitza. What if the city doesn't finish even? You know why I don't have my jacket, right? Because I'm so fashlofen. I left the house, I went back to the house, it was a disaster. But anyways, tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, I'm happy I have my shirt on. I came with all my clothes. It's just the jacket I was missing. Okay. Keitzad ma'abrim es ha'orim. You know, it's kind of late over here. I'm still on the Israel schedule. I didn't sleep tonight. Keitzad ma'abrim es ha'orim. Bayis nichnas, bayis yoitze. One house goes in, one house goes out. Pictures coming in a second. Pigum nichnas, pigum yoitze. You have a tower. Imagine, picture yourself a castle. Okay, we'll show you the pictures already. Here are the houses that are not even. So you take the furthest house on all sides, you draw a straight line, and that's where your tchum begins. And you go 2,000 amas from that. You don't go from the inner house. You don't go zigzag 2,000 amas from the inside, 2,000 amas from that. You make one straight line, one nice square, one nice rectangle, whatever it is. Now, what if you have a tower, castle's tower? Also, the same idea. It juts out a little bit. So we take the line with the furthest point of the tower. That's where the city begins, and that's where your 2,000 amas begin. Not by the actual wall. More cases. We mentioned this at least once in this Masechta. What if you have ruins? Ruins, as you can see right over here, as long as they're within 70 amma to the city, they're all part of the city, even though, look, it doesn't even have a rooftop, it's just ruins. So you take the line from where the ruins end, and that's where the 2,000 amma start and go this way. Very interesting. It definitely, certainly makes a beautiful picture, this upcoming one, and that is Ugsharim. If you have a toll booth on a bridge, you see the toll booth right over here, so that's sort of like a Beis Dira, even though nobody's there. So, where's the line? The line starts smack in the middle of the river, as you can see. The line goes from where the toll booth ends. It's not to the end of the bridge, but to where the toll booth on the bridge is. You can see the line goes right through like that, the yellow line. Unefashos. Nefashos is a giant matzeva. It's basically a place where you could sit. They have it today. The Rebbes have it. Different G'dolim have it. Right over here. Here's a typical basic forest. Giant matzeva nefashos. So once again, the city ends where the nefesh ends, where this house and room ends. So the yellow line, as you can see, starts here, goes to the end. 2,000 amas goes from that line and on. That's the furthest point of the city.
Was it a house?
It's a little haiskala. Yeah, oil. I have to tell you what oil is? Okay, you just wanted me to say oil live. We have Rabbi Twersky, who's a Chabatsker. The oil. I don't know. I've never been there, but I'm sure the oil means oil. He has a little house going on over there, right?
Yeah, a little shul there too.
A little shul. So that's exactly what it is. It's a nice structure. If you look at all the other matzevas going on here, and then you have a big. It's part of the mace, but it's not. It's like a structure. So that's like a dira. It's not a. You can't count the city from a matzeva, but you can count the city from a shul. If the Rebbe's oil is the end of the city, so it would start from the Rebbe's oil from there on out, because it's like a house. Moitzinis hamido kenegdon. So you measure from opposite that point. Voisin oison kimin tavlam urubas. You square it out, you straighten it out, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be square, but you straighten it out. So you can gain the corners. Because sometimes you don't really have a corner. Sometimes whatever juts out is in the center, but you're going to straighten out the line, and you have a nice square corner.
Similar to the circle extending it.
Well, this doesn't apply to circles. It applies to something that's already sort of in a square or a rectangle or something like that. Rav and Shmuel. So now the Gemara is going to bring, starting the Agadata, we're going to bring a machlokes that has to do with our Mishnah, and then different machlokesin of Rav and Shmuel, very similar things. Chatoni ma'abrin with the ayin, the chatoni ma'abrin. Ma'abrin with the ayin would mean like a pregnant woman. The city extends outwards with the ayin. The chatoni ma'abrin. There's no nafkemina lahalacha. It's just nafkemina. How do we spell the word? With the ayin or with the aleph? Ma'abrin means mandetoni ma'abrim aver. It means limbs. So it's like the hand juts out, this juts out. So you start the city with the ivarim. Mandetoni ma'abrim aver, mandetoni ma'abrim ki isha ubara, like a woman who's pregnant. That's a little bump out of the city. Me'oras hamachpelah. Now we have another machlokes. What's me'oras hamachpelah? Rav Shmuel chadom ashnei batim zelef nimezeh. V'chad bayis va'aliyo al gabo. Let me show you something. Let me ask you. This is an Egged bus from Eretz Yisrael. What do you call this? What kind of bus is this?
Accordion.
This is an accordion bus. Okay, what else?
Big Ben.
It's an extended bus, right? It's a double. It's like a. But what would you call it? What's the name?
Big Ben.
Okay, fine. Nobody knows here. Now, what is this called in English? Don't read these words over here. This is called double decker. That everybody knows it's a double decker. Fine. So now let's see this. One says it's two rooms next to each other, similar to this bus. Here's room 1, room 2. The other one says no, it's one above the other, a double decker. If you say it's one on top of the other, hainu machpelah. Now it makes a lot of sense. It's a machpelah, it's a double. What do you call in English double? Something that's on top of each other, a double-decker bus. Nobody called this accordion bus a double whatever. It's an extended bus. Why is it a double? A lot of caves have another room next to it, a room within a room. They're not called doubles. They're called a room within a room, a cave with 2 rooms. Is your house called a double house because it has another bedroom? Shikfula bezugois. Oh, so you're going to ask me, is your house called a double because it has a second floor? I hear. Okay. I just asked the question myself.
It's called a double lot.
A double lot, side by side. Okay. Fine. Anyway, not a good ride from the buses. In Chicago, they don't like the ride from the buses. Shikfula, so my machpelas, you have to explain according to the man the Omar, Shikfula bezugois. It's doubled up with peers, with how do you say them? Partners. You have Adam and Chava, as we're going to see in a second. Bamre Kiryas Arba. Why is it called? We're talking about Chevron. Kiryas Arba. What's the four? Omar Yitzchak Kiryas Arba Zugois. There are four couples. That's the word I was looking for. Couples. Adam v'Chava, Avraham v'Sara, Yitzchak v'Rivka, Yaakov v'Leah. Vayihi b'mei Amrafel, Rav Shmuel, Chadama Nimrod Shmoi, v'Lama Nigra Shmoi Amrafel. So this person had two names, Nimrod and Amrafel. But what's his main name? What's his nickname? So again, another machlokes of Rav Shmuel. We're bringing machlokes and Rav Shmuel that have to do with words. One says his real name when he was born by his bris was Nimrod. V'Lama Nigra Shmoi Amrafel. When Avram Avinu broke Terach's getchkis, his avodah zara, so Terach snitched on his own son to Nimrod, and he said, "Throw him into the fire." So his name is Amrafel. No, he was born with the name Amrafel. Why is his name Nimrod? I was joking when I said by his bris, right? There's no bris in then. Because he made the world rebel against Hakadosh Baruch Hu by Dor Haflaga. The famous Rashi on Chumash. What's going on? I forgot to read with all the balagan. The famous email from David Feinberg. Rabbi Say, it's very good because this is where you're supposed to be right over here. We just reached 10% of Shas, says David Feinberg. This 2,711 daf, and we just reached 207 and 11 lines. Look, count, you'll see. It's 15 lines. You don't know how to count. Anyway, fine. Baruch Hashem, we read the email at the exact point. So, thanks for care. And he says 10% is a very significant amount. That's mixas kekuloi, it has to be 10%. What? David Dimbert is very impressed with this, David. Maybe because you have the same name, but he loves it. We just finished 10% of Shas. It's not a joke, 10% of Shas. It's a big accomplishment. Okay. It wasn't that difficult. And we're moving. Pretty soon we're going to be on the cruise. The famous Rashi. There's a new king in Mitzrayim, Rav Shmuel. Did you know? It's Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. So some say, one says that it's a brand new king. Other one says no. No, we don't know. Anytime it says Chadama, we have no idea. Sometimes the Gemara tries to guess who it is. Not in this case. So, brand new. He decided whatever happened in the past. He forgot about everything. It says Chodesh in the Torah. It doesn't say that he died and then he ruled. What do you mean? He has new rules, but he says he doesn't even know who Yosef is. Says the Gemara, he pretended he doesn't remember anything. So he started being Mitzar Klal Yisrael, etc., because he acted as if he doesn't know who Yosef is. Simen, Shmona Esrei, Shnei Mosor, Lamanu, David, Vayiven. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Shmona Esrei Yom Gedalti Yitzar Rabbi Yishaya Beribi. Rabbi Yishaya, the Gadol Adar. Beribi is a lashon of Gadol Adar. Who's Rabbi Yishaya? Just as a reference, Rabbi Yishaya and Rabbi Chia, they were the ones who wrote the Brises. So he's the Gadol Adar. I hung out there for 18 days to learn. I only learned one thing in our Mishnah. What? Ketzad Ma'abrim, you spell it with the Aleph, not with the Ayin. It's referring to the Ivarim. The houses are like Ivarim. Ketzad Ma'abrim Sarim Ba'aleph. Ask the Gemara. Ini, what? He only learned one thing. Rabbi Yochanan himself said, Rabbi Shai Beribi had 12 Talmidim. And he's referring to those 18 days that he spent over there. I learned how sharp each and every one of them is. And how much chachma each and every one has. No, so if he learned the chachma and how sharp, he only learned that you say ma'abrim with the aleph. Number of tirutzim. Leiv kol echad ve'echad gamar. He figured out how smart each and every one is. Gemar le gamar, but he didn't learn something that's important to the Mishnah, to the Gemara. Ibai seima, or another pshat. Minay didu gamar. He learned from the Talmidim. Minay didei, but from Mishai himself, loy gamar. He only learned one thing: how to spell ma'abrim with the aleph. V'ibai seima dover echabim shaseinu. He spent 18 days and he got an aleph instead of an ayin. It's pretty disappointing, I would think. V'ibai seima dover echabim shaseinu kamar. In this particular Mishnah, in Perek Ketzim Ma'abrim, the first Mishnah, he learned one thing, that you spell it with aleph. But there's many other Mishnahs. He's learned many other things. V'bai seim in another pshat. B'mishnah seinu kamar. Fine. When we learn Torah, now that's that's sardines. Because a person basically takes up a whole amma. And to have 4 people in one amma, that's how many people wanted to learn Torah. From Rishaya, they stooped in 4 times the amount of people into a square foot. Omar Rebbe Kshainu learned in Torah, so Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua, Shisha B'Amma, is even more packed. 6 people in one amma. One amma is 2 by 2 feet. 2 feet by 2 feet, sticking 6 people. Figure it out. Rabbi Shai Beribi Doiroi, Rabbi Meir B'Doiroi. You want to know what Rabbi Shai Beribi is? Rabbi Shai the God Dor was like Rabbi Meir. Ma Rabbi Meir B'Doiroi lo yochlu chaver l'amad asoiv daitoi. We learned this all the way in the beginning of Masechta. Rabbi Meir was so smart and so advanced in learning that he could tell you on Tamei Torah and Torah Tamei. He'd tell you something that's completely Torah, he'd convince you that's Tamei, and you would fall for it. It was difficult to decipher what he was saying. That's why the halach is not because that's what I said yesterday. He might have been greater than Rabbi Yehuda, but the halach is like Rabbi Yehuda because it was easier to understand him. Today in yeshivas, I learned in a certain yeshiva, the yeshiva is so deep that nobody can understand what he's saying. It's like, no, I don't think so. I mean, even then when I was younger, I was like, I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Why don't I understand him? No, you understand? He's so deep that it takes many years to start chopping what he means. And okay, fine. He couldn't understand what Rabbi Shai meant. Their heart, their understanding in Torah was the size of the opening of the ulam. First, the ulam is 20 amas. Later generations, the opening of the Heichel, we also had this in this Masechta, is the size of 10 amos. Va'anu, if you want to compare them to us, not us, the ones who wrote the Gemara, Va'anu, Rabbi Yochanan is talking, Kimloi nekev machat tzidkis, we're like the opening of a needle. They're 20 amos wide, the first generation. We're the opening of a small needle. And what are we in the year 2020? Rishonim, who's that? Rebbe Kiva. Achroinim, Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua. So Rebbe Kiva was in the generation of Rebbe Kiva, 20 amas. Achroinim, Rebbe Elazar, 10 amas. Igedam Rishonim, Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua. No, forget about Rebbe Kiva. We're talking about Rebbe Elazar ben Shamua was 20 amas. Achroinim, Rishai Beribi. He was 10 amas. V'anu, Rebbe Yochanan, Kimloi nekev machat tzidkis. Amar Abaye v'anan, ki siksa beguda l'gemara. Says Abaye in his generation, we're like a peg, trying to fit a peg into a hole in a wall. Now, it's possible. You'll push really hard, you get some of it in. Some will go in. We're like trying to poke a finger into hard wax, doesn't go anywhere. Now Rashi says some will stick to your finger. Like the outside part, you'll get a little, like what is it? A millionth of an inch, whatever it is, a smell of the wax. But you're not gonna be able to get your finger in there. What? Mamish a shmek. But how do you say shmek in English? I don't know. They'll have to understand. That's why I said smell. Mine doesn't fit. Omar Rabbanan, he says, like, listen about it. Omar Vashanan, kitzbata bebeir l'shikcha. We're like a finger in a well. Mamish doesn't do anything. That's how we forget. Omar Rav Yudom Rav, Bnei Yehuda shekpidu al shoinam. Oh! So Bnei Yehuda, they were makpid on the way they spoke. As I'm going to explain later how they spoke. They spoke properly. But also, l'chayr, it means they watched their language. They didn't drop any curses. I'm in Chicago. I've seen a couple of things I couldn't believe. Shekpidu al shoinam, Rabbi said shekpidu al shoinam. Niskayim teirasim biyadam. So that's why the Torah that they learned, they were able to retain it. Bnei Galil shlo yekpidu al shoinam. Lo niskayim teirasim biyadam. Those who are makpid, the Torah didn't remain by them. Ask the Gemara, I don't understand the Gemara's kasha so well, but the Gemara understands that just dropping a couple of curses, or as the Gemara is going to explain, now, you know what? Based on what the Gemara is going to explain, you can understand the kasha a lot better. So maybe my pshat is off. We'll see soon. They weren't makbid so well in their lashon. They didn't have the pure lashon. Okay.
So what's Rabbi Kiva's Talmidim stance?
What about it? No, they were makbid in the covenant with each other. Now we're talking about a refined speech. Refined speech, you get to retain the Torah. So the Gemara says, you know what? It's a combination of two things. El Bnei Yehuda the Daiki Lishno. Yes, they have a refined way of talking, and umitanchelu simona, and they have simonim to remember the Torah, and memela niskayim Torah miyadam. That's why they're able to retain the Torah. Bnei Galil, the loy daiki lishna, leimtanchelu simona. They don't do either of these things. They're not careful of the way they speak, and they don't have great simonim. And niskayim Torah miyadam. Says the Gemara, Bnei Yehuda Gomru Mechad Rabba. And another thing. Boys, I'm starting to take this back a little bit. I was recommending people should watch other Daf Yomi shiurim. I have to take it back. Gomru Mechad Rabba. Unless you like that other Maggid shir better, then I'm not taking it back. Then you should share whatever. Okay, fine. Do whatever you need to do. But in Yehuda, they learn from one Rebbe, the sky and beyond. Two Rabbeim could confuse a person. You can learn the same thing, and he has different pshatim. Each one learns it differently. You start getting confused. You hear Yisrael Goldstein? You hear what's going on here? Yisrael Goldstein listens to like 3 different shiurim. This shiur he watches twice, but he watches 2 others. You got to stop. Stop cold turkey the other guys. I recommended those other guys. That was my problem. Another reason why Bnei Gol don't retain the Torah because they have too many Rebbe. Rebbe no Amar Bnei Yehuda the Gol Mesechta. Second pshat in Rashi, they elaborate on the svara. They explain what's going on. Bnei Golim the Gol Mesechta. They just read it. They don't explain. David HaMelech Gali Mesechta. He would explain the Torah. Shaul Gali Mesechta. You have to understand, Shaul is not a joke. Shaul was from the greatest people that ever lived. I mean, we have Tainus on him. He chased David, and this and that, and Noiv, different things. But the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have a kpeid on Shaul for chasing David HaMelech. Noiv is a different story. We'll see in a second. But as the Navi describes him, Shichmei v'Malo, he was greater than everybody, and he sat in Gan Eden with Shmuel. Not a joke. Shaul Yigola Mesechta. Shaul didn't explain, didn't elaborate according to Rashi's second pshat. David Yigola Mesechta, Ksiv Bey, Yireyecha, Yireuni. The people that love me, they'll fear me, talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They'll fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'yismachu, they'll be happy with the Torah that David taught them. Shaul Yigola Mesechta. He didn't explain it well. Ksiv Bey, El Koila Sheyifne Yarshia. It's referring to the wars. Everybody feared him in the war, but Rashi says he wasn't zoicha to say the proper halacha. Why? Because he didn't elaborate the Torah that he was teaching. And we're turning to Daf Gimel Amud Beis, sponsored by Mark Steinberg. Schus for Shidduch for Yitzchak Pesach Yehuda ben Meir Yosef, and by anonymous, Hatzloch in Yiddishkeit, for anonymous himself, and the schos for his family to be Torah Yidden. Amen. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan. Medayin shemach le'akadosh baruch hu lo yisei Yovain. Explains Rashi, the Gemara doesn't explain, but that Aveira referring to that he slaughtered the entire city of Noiv Ira Kohanim. He believed that they were harboring David and they were conspiring against him, so he killed them all. So it says, for murder, Kadosh Baruch Hu forgave him on murder. Shenemar, the famous story, we had it just, I don't remember when, but not too long ago, we had this story that Shaul, he was nervous about going to war, and Shmuel had just died, so he did something that's also, he went and he went to a witch, and he had her bring down, what?
Endor. He went to Endor to...
The kids, he took down the neshama, Shmuel's neshama, the whole question of the Gemara we had. It was the first year, how did he get a neshama? Anyway, that's sugya, it was probably an Eruvin. But, brought down Shmuel, and he said, Shmuel, what's going to be? And he says, you're going to die tomorrow, but umachar atu v'necha imi, you're going to sit with me, imi b'bichitzasi. Imagine sitting with Shmuel and Navi in Gan Eden. So, that only happens if HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives completely. How would a murderer sit with Shmuel? The answer is HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgave him, and he was Shaul HaMelech, probably one of the greatest kings that Klal Yisrael had. Omar Rabba. If you would ask people from Bnei Yehuda, the Daiki Lishna, they're very good at language and being medayik and having a clean language. Ma'abrintnan or ma'abrintnan. Does the word ma'abrin in our Mishnah, is it spelled with an aleph, is referring to an aver, a limb, or ma'abrim is referring to a pregnancy? Akuzoitnan or akuzoitnan? When we learn B'charis, we have the same question. This is a question from B'charis, that if you have an animal that's a B'char, and it's missing one beitza, it's a balmum, you can't bring it as a B'char. So what you do is you sit it down on its rear end, on a kuzai, and you do a procedure and you see if it could come out. But akuzai is spelled with the aleph or with the ayin. Says the Gemara, Yadi, they will know. They'll know how to do it. They'll know how to spell it. Shailinu v'armilei. So they asked him and they said, They didn't get a good answer. Maybe it is a good answer. The answer is that it goes both ways. That there's no answer. That there's people that have a minute to say with the aleph. There are people that say with the ayin. So it's not a joke question that the Gemara asked. The Gemara knew that there's a tradition to read it with the ayin and a tradition to read it with the aleph. So so now the Gemara says some very interesting stories how the people from Yehuda, they were very makbid in how they spoke. I have a garment I want to sell. What color is it? Like beets on the ground. The top of the beet when it grows is not red, it's green. Because if you even look in the Artscroll, anytime it says the word Yoraik in Artscroll, it says yellow. How do you say yellow in Hebrew? Tzahav. How do you say green in Hebrew? Yarok. But I'm pretty sure, a few times I looked over there and it says Yarok, it says yellow. Because it's a confusing word in Aramaic. Is Yarok, sometimes it means green. So look in the beginning of Brachas, when it says Yarok, the Kekarsi, this whole thing, yellow. Fine. Right. So no, they said it's like the top of the beet. They want to be very clear that what I'm trying to sell you is green clothing, not yellow. Because if you'd say the word Yoraik, it could go in either direction. Mostly yellow, but sometimes green. How do you say green? So he said it's like the leaf of a beet. Everybody knows that it's green. Fine. He was very medayik. B'nei Gola de ledaiki lishne mai. So give us a story of people from Gala that they're not so careful in how they speak. He said, Amar Leman, Amar Leman. Who has Amar? Omrlei, Glila Shoita. You're an idiot from Gala. Chamar Lemirkav. He said, so imagine if you're like in an Arab nation. Hamar. He was saying Amar. Was he saying Amar or Hamar? What was he saying exactly? Was it Ches? Was it Aleph? I don't know what he's saying. So did you mean to say a donkey? Chamar lemirkav or Chamar lemishti? Were you talking about wine? Were you talking about a donkey? Or maybe you said it with the ayin. Amar lemilbash. You want some what do you call it? Wool. Or Amar liskasa. Or do you want to shecht a sheep? Says Rashi. Kitzer, I don't know what you want. Talk clearly. It's the boy lemeimel chaverto toy do oichlich chalava. Come, I want to feed you some fat, or oichlich means to feed you. Could also mean maybe to give you some milk. Amar lo shluchasi toichlich levi. So basically, she messed up, and it sounded like she was saying, I want to feed you to the lions. So that's it. That was the end of that relationship. I'm trying. I want to give you food. I want to feed you to the lion. Bekitzer, it didn't work well. She put instead of a vase, she said a ches. Instead of the chalava, if you take off the ches, it sounds like lavi, like a lion. Bekitzer, she wasn't clear. Again, she dropped the ches. This is a great one. A woman comes in front of the dayanim, in front of the judges. Amrlei, she says to the judges, Mari Kiri. What she tried to say is Kiri with a kuf. I guess it sounds a little different, Kiri or Kiri. And instead of saying my master to the judges, she called them her slaves. She called the judges my slaves. How you doing, my slaves? Now, she tried to say the word tavla. It's very interesting because in Artscroll right now, like one of the greatest ways to catch an Arab terrorist is to ask him to say a pay. Like say, give me a can of soda, pachit. Tell the guy, say pachit, and they'll say bachit. They can't say a pay. There's no way they can say a pay. That's their little trick. If any Arabs are listening, whatever, fine. So if you want to know if somebody's an Arab, you talk to him in Hebrew, they cannot say pay. They say, instead of saying po, they say bo. And they even write it sometimes with a base. It's the funniest thing. If you see a sign written by an Arab, they'll put a base instead of a pay. That's exactly what happened over here. She says tafla. She tried to say tavla, which means a plank, so instead she said a tafla, a beam. What's her case? She's coming to say that somebody stole her how do you say, like a shelf, basically, like a tavla, a piece of wood, a tablet of wood. Thank you. Tablet of wood. A tablet. Somebody stole her iPad. Instead of saying iPad, she said tafla. Tafla obviously ugnovuch min. Now, her words were so unclear that she said, first of all, I had a beam, and they stole you away from me. She's telling the judge, first she calls him a slave, and then she says, they stole you, slave, from me. Instead of saying, minhoin, they stole from me, she said, they stole you from me. Instead of saying they stole the tablet from me, she said they stole you, slave, from me. Uchadu havis the chadshadri lochilovei. Now it's such a big piece of wood. This wood le'moti karcha. What she tried to say is the tablet was so large that if I stretched you out on the tablet, your feet wouldn't reach to the end. Instead, she says, "I want to hang you. I'm going to hang you on this beam." So she tells the judge. First, she calls him a slave. Then she says that she's basically married to him, but somebody stole him away from her. And then she said, I'm going to hang you in 2 minutes. I'm going to hang you on this beam of wood. The kids that's somebody that doesn't speak clearly. You should speak clearly and intelligently, so people understand what you're talking about. Fine. No, I said this already. Says the Gemara, how most of the Rebbe, the helper over there in Rebbe's house. So now we're going to talk about talking in remazim and talking in a way that's hard for the kids to understand. You know, a lot of times code language, people speak in Yiddish so the kids don't understand, or in Hebrew, whatever it is, never works. That's how the kids pick up different languages. So she wanted to be polite in Lashon Chachma. She wanted to say, get the heck out of here. I'm done. The meal's over, by the way. Did you chap? Meal's over. Go home. Scoot. So what did she say? She says, Omra hachi olos nakvis bekad. You know, the ladle is banging on the bottom of the barrel. In other words, there's no more wine in the barrel. No more wine. Go home. There's nothing for you to do here anymore. Yidun nishrayo likineyon. The eagle has landed. No, the eagle should go back to its nest. Shalom. Bye-bye. So they get the hint. Now there's people that even if you tell them straight out, it's time for you to leave, they don't get the hint. But these are Talmid Chachamim, and she said it, B'lashon Remez, and they picked up and they left. But occasionally she wanted to stay longer. She would say, Yadi basa chaverta mina. This barrel has a friend. We can take a piece out of this barrel. In other words, take out the stopper. There's plenty of wine. The wine will last for longer. Stick around. This ladle, this tool that you take out the wine with, it's going to float on the top like a ship floats in the ocean. In other words, there's plenty of wine to go around. Stick around. Rabbi Yosi bar Asyon, ki have mishtoy b'loshen chachma, when he spoke in his code language, Omar, asuli shor mishpat. Basically, this is the funniest thing. He wanted beets and mustard, but he didn't want to say beets and mustard. So what did he say? He said, make me an axe, mishpat, a judgmental axe, bitur miskein, in a mountain that's a nebuch. What does it mean? Because Rashi explains that tradin, which is beets, you could split the word into two. Tur din, tradin, like a tur is a mountain, din mishpat, and then chardo, which is mustard, is char dal, miskein. Dal is miskein, and char, he says, is a loshon of har. You drop the ches, could be a hay, like we had before, so it's a har dal. Fine, that's how you. So you had to be a goy noilam to understand that he wanted beets and mustard. And occasionally you would ask about the innkeeper. You want to know how the innkeeper and how the innkeeper's wife is doing. It's not so proper. So ushpiza, says Rashi, is 3 words. Ish, pe, ze. That's how you can break it up. So how do you say ish pe ze? Gevar is ish, pum is pe, dain, ze. Kitzer, gvar pum dain. This man mouth here. He's walking around, man mouth here. And people understood, he meant to say, how's the innkeeper doing? And the ganze mishpach, including his wife. Mazu toiva yesh. What's going on with him? Is he okay? Rabbi say again, I forgot to make my agadama. When it comes to agadata like this, it's not what we understand. We're just trying, we're breaking our teeth to say the words and say over a half a story, but there's the Marsha, the Maharal, the Ben Yoyada, and there's many different pshatim and pirushim, and like the Vilna Gaon there's a whole sefer, what is it called, the juggler and this, on one daf in Avagata. There's a lot of deep things here. Everybody go out and figure it out themselves. I don't have any major pshatim here. Says the Gemara, I'm just trying to get through the words. It's already 8 o'clock in Eretz Yisrael. Says the Gemara. take the esrog. Oh, talking about sukkahs, the esrog, it should be red. I didn't know esrogim are red. Anyways, it should glow. The coal should glow like an esrog. Arkil is a oven. Give me the golden ones, the ones that are glowing. Warm me up. And make for me 2 alarm clocks. Basically, what's an alarm clock? A rooster. Rooster wakes up in the morning. So make 2 of these that could tell the time. And some say, he said, take the coals, and on the coals you should make the 2 roosters. Have you seen Rebbe Eloi? We're looking for him. He's hiding. He spent the night with a young woman, Haroinis, she's a kohen. She comes from Acharoinis, it's his second wife. Eronis, she's very with it, she's alert. Viniartu, and she kept him up the whole night. In other words, what they're trying to say is, if you learn Pashup Pshat, and this is a typical the whole this, you know what? Right here in the Gemara it teaches us how to read Agatha. Either you can read it plain simple. It's talking about a woman and he just got married. Okay, it's not the end of the world. He just got married, so she kept him up at night. First night they just got married, fine. Or Amilo Isha V'Amilo Mesechta. It could be referring to something completely different. It could be referring to Aharonis, says Rashi, say the Kachim. You're learning about Kohanim, the avodah of a kohen. Acharanis, that he finished a Masechta and he just started this one. Eronis, it's very deep and very and it wakes the person learning, and he's basically learning all night a Masechta, nothing to do with a woman. So that it's a lesson how to learn Agadta. You could say Isha means Mamish Isha or Masechta. Where they went to Rebbe Eloi, and they asked him, where's Rebbe Vo hiding? Before it's the exact opposite. They were asking Rebbe Vo, where's Rebbe Eloi hiding? Now it's Rebbe Eloi, where's Rebbe Vo hiding? He went and he asked the Eitzah by the Nasi, and he said he should go to the Negev, to the south, to Mipiboishes, the good yeshivas, to where the Talmid Chachamim learn. They're very sharp over there. He recommended him that he should go to the yeshiva in the south. A person has never beat me, ever. I'm always right. Sounds like somebody I know. There's one time a woman beat me. Me also, one time. That never happened to me. A little kid, little baby, and a little girl. Isha Maya, what happened? I was in an inn. Also, silly poilin, she made me beans. Also, a rookie mistake. You never eat beans, but he did. I finished the whole thing. That's also a terrible thing. I'm not going to get into the stories with my grandmother. I once did it to my grandmother. She thought I loved the food. Every time I saw her, she made me this food. I couldn't take it. But one time I told her it was good. Second day, he loves beans so much. Let's make it again. On the third day, she burnt it with salt. Too much salt. I didn't want to eat from Rebbe, why aren't you eating? What's the proper thing to do? Also, Musa Haskell, you don't insult somebody. I already ate, I'm not hungry. Oh really, you're not hungry? I just saw you fresh all that bread a minute ago. Checkmate, she got him. Also, another checkmate, double checkmate. Rebbe, so this is very interesting. There is a minhag, not in our days, Baruch Hashem, but the minhag was that on your plate you leave a little bit left over for the waiter. Let him eat right off your plate. That's how it went. Yeah, today the waiter takes a little bit off your plate, then he gives you the rest, right, when you're not looking. So she gives him musar. You didn't leave the waiter anything on your plate. You're not supposed to leave anything over in the pot. But on the plate, yes. So she beat him. What happened to the girl? I was walking. There was a path going through somebody's field, a private field. A girl comes over to him. Rebbe, isn't this a private place? Amarti la, lo derech kvushi. The tzibur already went through. They already conquered it. Amarli, listen, k'moischa kavashua. She tells a galadar. She tells a thieves like you took it. What do you mean they were kovish it? They had no right to do it. Tinok ma'hi. This is a mamish a side. This is a yisoid in life, and it's a side. It's not a ma'aser. It's not like literally. There was a fork in the road. I saw a little kid. Which way should I go? You know, today on Waze, you go on Waze, especially you live in Bet Shemesh. It'll tell you if you want to go from here to Yerushalayim, it's 15 miles through the back roads. But guess what? It's 15 miles. It takes you 2.5 hours when you get stuck behind the dump truck. But if you go on Kfish Echad, it's 25 miles, but it takes you 22 minutes. So it's Aruka Shiktsara. So this is what the kid told him. You could go with the very short way, but it's very long. Varuka. Vizu Aruka Uktsara. Rabbi say it's also a lesson for life. Nothing comes easy. If they tell you this is cheap and whatever, you're going to pay double. If you think you're going to gain something by just practicing 1 or 2 times, it's going to take you triple the amount. Put in the time, you'll get it. You'll get it the first time. It'll be shorter if you put in the time. Says the Gemara. So I decided to take the shortcut, but it was long. When I got to the destination, I was stuck. There were trees. I couldn't get into the city. I had to reverse. You told me it's shorter. But I also told you it's longer. I didn't get upset at him. I kissed him on his head. You're all smart. From the big ones, from the older ones to the smaller ones. Rabbi Zagalili, 2 more lines. Bruria. Who's Bruria? Probably the most famous woman in Shas. Reb Meir's wife, Chananya Betradian's daughter, the Almaisen and Avodah Zarah. Her sister got captured. Reb Meir took her out. Her 2 sons died on Shabbos. She didn't tell Reb Meir. She didn't want to upset him. Famous Talmid Chachama. Omar lo beizederech neilech leloid. How do you go to Lloyd? Omar le Galili Shaita. I guess it was an expression the second time in this Amud. You idiot from Galil. Why are you saying be'ezed derech neilech leloid 4 words? You're talking to a woman. When you talk to a woman, you should be mekatzer your words. You should have said be'ezed leloid. 2 words instead of 4. You shaita. All right, fine. It's very late, so we'll stop right over here. Rabbi, have a wonderful, wonderful day and a wonderful, wonderful shluff for all you Chicagoans and New Yorkers that are on right now.
What's the plan?
And the Rowan Kornbluth with the Anikel again. He's talking cute, he's, whatever, I don't want to say. It's a cute Anikel you got going over there. Oh, tomorrow. This is not for the Artscroll to get to listen. This is what the sacrifice that the people in Chicago are making. 11:15 here, same time, is Shir number 1. Shir number 2, immediately after Shir number 1, at 12 o'clock, we're going to put a stop to the YouTube, restart it, and do the next daf. So that, no. Yeah, that's the Motzei Shabbos daf. And then Friday, we're going to have another Shir. I have to prepare 3 daf tomorrow?